was all a bunch of kids that just graduated high school and said, let's figure it out. So that's kind of how we got to where we were today. And obviously we broke a lot of things, messed a lot of things up.
I mean, you shared that with me. That seems to be a theme. Not afraid to break and try things, right?
No, it's, I mean, we're experiencing that right now with stuff we're making for people that we're not used to doing. And like, hey, we're going to mess this up, but we'll get it right eventually for you. And
this episode of the Fabricator Podcast is brought to you by MC Machinery Systems, the U.S.-based supplier and servicer of Mitsubishi lasers, press brakes, and automation equipment. A subsidiary of the Mitsubishi Corporation, MC Machinery's expertise spans virtually every aspect of metalworking, from simple fabrication to CNC-driven automated cells. MC Machinery has technology centers with service and support teams located across North America. Go to mcmachinery.com to learn more.
Hello, welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. I'm Dan Davis with my co-host for today, Tim Heston, both of the Fabricator. Today is a sponsored episode by Mitsubishi MC Machinery. We appreciate that. It's a fun conversation with Blake Hamar of Cali Raised LED. We had a story about him and his company in the September 2024 edition of the Fabricator. I think you'll enjoy it. He's a young man, all of 27 years old, and he's got pretty good business going. We also have a young person's voice in the magazine.
Tim Heston.
Tim is younger than me. That'd be one of them.
5 years, you're a junior.
But we also have Caleb Chamberlain of OSH Cut writing for us, and he's also doing a podcast with you, Tim. Do you want to kind of explain what it is?
Yeah. Well, Caleb Chamberlain has kind of a unique business model, being kind of a web shop that he has end-to-end software. But he writes a kind of a monthly column for us called Tech Talk. But from that, I mean, he's the under 40 crowd, so to speak, is what we're looking for. And so with the Next Gen Metal Fab podcast, we are actually expanding it to a panel discussion and various younger fab shop owners to just get that kind of younger next generation voice into the mix, going, all right, what do they expect from because we have for the past 20 years, we've hosted panel after panel about how to get young people into this industry, but we have had few young people actually speak.
Yes, young people are actually the key to attracting young people.
Correct.
Apparently.
So let's get some other. Hence our podcast today, which was which is fabulous, but also this Next Gen Metal Fab podcast. We're just kind of talking about how the industry is going to shape, big, kind of deep thoughts about where metal fab is going, different kinds of business models. For our first panel coming up, we have got three different fab shop owners from different areas, and Caleb and I will also be hosting. But it's very interesting because two of them have very similar but very different models. And what our guest today has said is, he's new to the industry as well, right? So he came in and realized that there's no one way to run a fab shop. It is the same processes but different people, and different cultures, and that's kind of what makes our job fun. But the younger generation, a lot of them are having a different take on a lot of things.
A little bit of a barrier to entry because there's no playbook, as kind of Blake used. He didn't say playbook, but really nothing, no resource to kind of go and consult.
I mean, for now he has an 80-person shop, Blake, but he has no hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right. No manager, no supervisor, no nothing. It's just him and his team, and everybody's on the same team.
Yeah.
And everybody has pay transparency as far as certain skills go. But everybody just works together to get the job done. It's like, that's very inspirational. That's kind of a new way to think about things. Yeah. And I think a lot of younger people are thinking about that, too.
I think they respond to that pretty well.
Yeah. So
I think you said the average age in his shop is 23 years old.
23 years old.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So it's a purely Gen Z shop. And now, granted, he makes truck parts, right? So they're tricking out the truck, and it's kind of a quote unquote sexy business. But that gets him in the door, but he keeps him there, and it's going to be fun. And you'll find out why.
Yeah, and he says he hires welders and trains them how to use press brakes and how to operate laser cutters too. So
Yeah. Actually, yeah. It sounds like he doesn't want me there working, but I imagine if I was younger, I would have really enjoyed working there. You can find that in the Fabricator Podcast at Spotify, Apple, all of the podcast platforms. I should just say that. That's over.
yeah.
All right. Now that I've completely swung and missed, I'm going to take my seat on the bench and hope you enjoy this episode of the Fabricator Podcast. Thank you.
The Mitsubishi GXF Advanced series of 2D fiber lasers features the latest in AI and new patented gas reduction technology, delivering more power while using less nitrogen and requiring less operator intervention. Designed by Mitsubishi engineers and built with major Mitsubishi components, the GXF Advanced series is one of the only laser systems in the industry with a single source for service and support. Go to mcmachinery.com to learn more.
Hello, welcome to the Fabricator Podcast live, recorded live here at FabTech 2024 in Orlando, Florida. I'm Dan Davis with the Fabricator Magazine. My co-host today is Tim Heston. You might know him from the Fabricator Magazine.
Hello.
And our guest, Blake Hamar, who you also might know from the Fabricator Magazine, September 2024 edition. We wrote a story on Blake and his company, Cali Raised LED. He's also involved with Hamar Industries. Is that correct?
Yep.
And we're going to find out a little bit more about him, his company, and you have some interesting things going on.
We
even
do.
Outside Metal Fab.
We do.
We'd like to thank Mitsubishi MC Machinery Systems for sponsoring this episode. Blake is a customer of theirs, and we're going to learn more about some of the equipment he has as well. So thanks for joining us.
Of course.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, let the people out there know a little bit about yourself. How'd you get involved in metal fab?
Yeah, so started back in high school, 2014, Southern California. Went to an all-guys prep school out there. Of course, like every guy, sophomore year, you get your driver's license. You want to get a pickup truck, start doing a bunch of stuff to it. So originally started out, kind of researching, seeing things for the trucks and all that. And everyone back in the day wanted the LED light bar on your truck. That was like the coolest thing to have. You remember the old KC lights? That was kind of not the thing anymore. And these LED lights were super, super popular. And so I was just researching these things. As a high school kid, you have no money or anything. So you're looking and you're like, there's either, a 20-inch light bar that's $1,000 or one that's $20. And the $20 one wouldn't last you a week, but obviously you don't have enough money to buy the $1,000 one. And I was like, man, like this might be like a business, like you solve a problem. Like, what if we can find one that's kind of in the, middle range that people could actually afford and, provide those. So just kind of started researching, and I had I've always kind of been in business and social media and stuff like my whole life. Going back to when I was a little kid, I would take people's stuff. Hey, I can sell that on eBay for you. I'll take a 15% cut. I mean, literally from like a little kid doing that stuff. Like, I just always thought the internet was super fascinating and like all that, like really, really early in e-commerce. Right. So social media, stuff like that. So I had a fairly popular Instagram page at the time that just posted trucks and stuff like that. So I started just finding these like factories that did the LED lighting and hitting them up and saying, hey, like, I'm a truck page. Like, can I, be a distributor and, sell these for you? And no one replied. One person replied, oh, sure. So we bought these lights, and kind of long story short, but started kind of importing, I'd buy a box of 4 of them, sell them, buy a box of 8 of them, sell them, just kept, putting the money back in. And one thing I found out was like, okay, these guys buy these lights, but like, how do you put them on your truck? Because they just come with an L bracket, basically.
Right.
So yeah, if you want to mount it to a flat piece of something, it's really easy. So I'm like, okay, like this might be something here. Like, we need to start doing like brackets for these things. So I kind of found a designer guy who designed and did stuff in his garage. I'm like, hey man, can you make me like a bracket to like mount this on the front bumper of this truck. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. So he did it and built it. And I'm like, can you make me like 5 of those things? I mean, I sold them like instantly and I kitted them together, and guys would pay like a lot more money because they're like, oh, this is turnkey, ready to rock and roll.
Right.
So that's kind of where like the metal stuff kind of started. We had sold lights for a few years for farming equipment. I mean, we would travel around to trade shows, like here, and we would have a booth set up selling lights to the Iowa Farm and Power show.
Right.
Then we go to the boat show. I mean, we'd sell them all over the place. But once we kind of started getting into the mounts and stuff, that's where we started doing that. And this guy didn't have a shop or anything. Literally, he had a bandsaw in his garage. He would hand cut these mounts he built a jig and hand cut them with a bandsaw with a little bottle jack and bend them little 90s and stuff. And we were good to go. And we would sell these things to people, and they were just pumped up about it. So I'm like, hey man, like we got to like kind of scale this a little bit. So found just a job shop that would, do this for us. And they would, we made we would just make a prototype and like give it to them and be like, because we didn't know how to like design anything, Here's this bracket we built, recreate this, put it in a box, and we'll, so that's kind of what we did. And then after doing that for about, a year, it got like enough to where I'm like, okay, like these guys aren't that smart. Like we could do this. Like we just got to buy something to cut it and something to bend it.
Right.
And then we just started fabbing up mounts, and we would build these mounts and post pictures, like put a light bar here on your truck. We make the mount and the light bar kit, and then people were like, this is great. Can you make me a bumper? Can you make me a rat? And then it kind of grew to a point where we're like, okay, we're like a manufacturer.
Yeah. Are you doing primarily Tacomas at that time?
That was all we did was Tacomas.
Yeah.
So kind of fast forward, we did that for, a few years, and I'm like, okay, well, we need to move somewhere. Cause our shop was tiny. Like this booth is bigger than our shop.
Wow.
And it was just not, it was not for manufacturing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we need to like move to somewhere. So, ended up picking Texas, ended up picking the DFW area.
Are you 18 at this point?
I believe I was 18 or 19, right around there.
Yeah.
And we just started figuring it out and rolling from there. And now we're doing what we're doing now. So it hasn't been that long. That's the thing.
Right.
Like it sounds like 2019. That's like when COVID started. It felt like that was yesterday. It's crazy. So no, we've moved really fast.
You made the move with like 3 or 4 friends.
Yeah, I think we brought 6 people with us when we came from. That's all we had. It was literally everyone in the company except one person stayed. So they all just packed up and went to Texas, and it was all a bunch of kids that just graduated high school and said, let's figure it out. So that's kind of how we got to where we were today. And obviously we broke a lot of things, messed a lot of things up. And
you shared that with me. That seemed to be a theme, not afraid to break and try things,
no,
right?
No, it's we're experiencing that right now with stuff we're making for people that we're not used to doing. And like, hey, we're gonna mess this up, but we'll get it right eventually for you. And and then that's the best way to learn. Once you do something wrong, you know what to never do again. So
well, I remember when I was 17, I bought my first CO2 laser, and okay, but now you're already automating, right? So describe where you are today with automation.
Yeah, so starting at the first step, the laser. So we originally had 2 CO2s. We ran the 2 CO2s for probably 2 years, from like 19 to 21, maybe. And I was like, we got to get a fiber laser. We got to get something that's easier. I do not understand these cut conditions. I don't even know what a cut condition is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to change anything. Like, this computer's from before I was born. Like, I don't know what any of this stuff does. So I started talking to people, and I got with MC, and what I really like, so I've been to like you go to their centers where they do it, and the guy stands there and shows how nice this thing cuts. And I kind of threw him a curveball because I brought a USB file with me, and I said, I want to cut this here today. And the guy was kind of like, sweet, like, yeah, like I've cut this circle in front of people 9 million times, like the show thing that they do. And so literally I was at their Chicago facility, and from start to finish, he like showed me how to program, how to do everything, put the new nozzle in. Like, I'm like, this is so easy. Like any idiot can do it, like me. And I'm like, we're buying this machine. Like, if I can do this, because that's the problem. Like, if I don't, like, we don't have like all these people that like know like what. So if I can do it, like anyone can do it. So we bought the fiber laser, and it's so fast. So when you don't have any automation attached to it, it would shuttle that sheet out, and your guys are sitting there picking parts off, and the thing's done in 15 minutes. And you could only cut like 7 or 8 sheets a day, because by the time you got the sheet off, brought the new sheet on, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I ended up getting the automation with it. They make a really nice automation system that goes linear with the machine. So it's kind of a long system. And we ended up getting that, and that was like the biggest game changer. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, if you have a fiber laser without automation, like there's no point in even having the laser. Like you're using 20% of your machine. So we added that automation on the laser, so we're able to cut it, unloads the table, loads the next sheet on, and that thing can just run all day and night, which is really nice. So that's on the sheet metal side. Obviously we improved our press brakes. We got one of the new Mitsubishi ones. Again, super simple. I know nothing about bending metal. I can get something bent with one of those. I can take you and give you a part, and you could set up the tooling and do it with no experience whatsoever. So that's really good on the press brake side. On the welding side, we have 2 big OTC weld cells, 3-station cells. We worked with Capital Robotics on those. So those fully have the tilt tables that can weld. I mean, they're really nice robotic welders. We've automated some of the deburring with the automated belt machines that you just lay the parts on the little conveyor belts and they come out the other end. So kind of in every aspect, we've definitely done it, not only to make the process better, not only to make your employees to not have to be as skilled and as experienced, but it just makes the work environment a lot better too, because you're not having to sit there and, I don't like to say not work as hard, but you don't have to really work as hard when you have the machine to do all of it. It's like, you always say, you gotta have the right tool for the job. So that's kind of what we did with going through that.
I assume now you're beyond simple brackets, right? So explain now your design process before just here, coming in with a bracket.
Yeah. So I mean, now we're building, and another thing I didn't even touch into, I totally blanked. I've just been looking at so much sheet metal. Is we bought a tube laser as well, and then an automated bender. That, I mean, you just hit the button and it does everything you need it to do. But yeah, I mean, the design process. So yeah, we do make the simplest L bracket in the world to complex bumper assemblies and skid plate systems. So we did have to hire an engineer, because that's one thing I can't design anything. He put me in SolidWorks. I couldn't make you anything. So we have an engineer. We go through, I mean, our process is pretty simple. We know with what we want at the end of the day. We want a really nice bumper that fits here, that holds a wind, does this, that, and that, get it there for us. And through a lot of trial and error and fitting and all that stuff, we just figure it out. And once we get the final one bolted on and good, then we just hit copy and paste and make them all day and night and just sell them and ship them.
Do you design for automation? Because I know, a lot
we do. So yeah, definitely when we had to do a lot of redesign when we added this new equipment. Like, for example, the robotic welder.
Right.
We bought the robotic welder, and we used to have a tube plasma and a more manual bender. Well, now nothing was fitting up perfectly, and the welder was off a little bit. So we said, okay, we need to get better cuts. Okay, so then we had to buy a tube laser. Oh, well, now we need to get better bends. And then we had to buy so it's like you just keep running into, oh, well, this is wrong. We got to get this now. So,
right.
Buying the robotic welder, we ended up, spending way more money and the other stuff so that the robotic welder could work properly for like fixturing and stuff like that. But no, it definitely has changed when we look at something. How are we going to, because that's the one thing I've learned from a lot of engineers is when they design something, you might have the greatest design in the world, but you can't even make it. Like,
right.
You sit like, how are you expecting us to bend this? There's no way. Like, there's no,
right.
I don't know. I just the computer let me do it. And that's the cool thing actually on the Mitsubishi equipment is they have a bending software where you can put your part in there and it'll simulate the thing on your machine and it'll tell you like this is not possible to do. And we've sent videos to customers who've sent us stuff and we're like, this is not possible to bend. And they're like, oh, this is great to like see not just, hey, we can't bend this, but why.
Yeah.
And then people learn a lot. So
Right.
no,
But
definitely it changes a lot.
what's great though is that you have such a success story because you have obviously a product that sells.
Yeah.
So a lot of the issues that continually go out there. All right, you've got a robotic welder. Okay, well now you need more precision upstream.
Yep.
Or you usually that's the case. So what happened? The robotic welder just sits in the corner because we can't afford this yet.
Exactly.
But you actually, I mean, what's the timeline for all this? I mean, you've been aggressive over the past
Yeah,
few years.
and I mean it has been very quick because again we have sales driving it, and we're in control of our own destiny. Like
Right.
we're the
Yeah.
one making for us selling our own products. So
But
that drives a lot of it because we're like, hey, we got orders we got to fulfill, so we can't just sit here and
well, and you mentioned the market you play in is very reactive. Like
Yes.
you're gonna jump on if you see somebody else offering something similar online.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very quick what we do. It's very fast. So we don't really have time to like sit around and like, oh yeah, we'll get this thing going one day. It's like, no, we've literally built a prototype by hand, put it on the market, and we've sold tons of them. We need to figure out how to build this thing now. And we
Oh,
got like 3 weeks to like deliver this to these customers.
wow.
Like coded, boxed with instructions because we're racing against someone else right now.
Yeah.
As a new vehicle comes out and
Right.
stuff like that. So it's extremely fast. And again, that's where you mess a lot of things up because you're just
Yeah.
moving 100 miles an hour doing that.
Has it helped with that automated equipment? Has it kind of made it a little bit easier?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
by far. Not only because just the product is better too.
Right.
The only thing is with some of the automated stuff, some of the upfront setup is a little bit more intensive, but it's consistency.
Right.
Like that's the biggest thing, like compared to what we are able to do compared to competition, we're just consistent. It's like when you go to McDonald's, the burger tastes the same every single time. And that's what we want with our product.
How many people do you have working with you now?
So right now, the entire organization, it's around 40 people. So that's from the shop to sales to marketing to web, to shipping, all
Yeah.
that. So it's a really good manageable crew we have for
Right.
sure.
And what's your product development like? Like, why trick out a truck? I've covered a lot of shops who do it, and like, man, that's a passionate market, man.
It
Wow.
is. Yeah, and it's funny because I'm not a off-road enthusiast. Like I hate off-roading.
What?
But it's just kind of where we fell,
Really?
like when we were doing that, and
So
we
you
just
like
rolled
you,
with it.
you like the LEDs and stuff, but
I-
you,
I
but
just-
you didn't go beyond that.
like I'm not like like we're in such an enthusiast market is what they call
Yeah.
it.
right.
But I'm like we're really not enthusiasts, which I think has helped us a lot because a lot of our competition is enthusiasts, and that they make it goes into their design.
Right.
Where you're like they don't do this for like manufacturing purposes. They do this
Right.
because they think like this is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's not like feasible to like make this thing thousands of times building it like
Right,
that. So that's
right.
helped a lot. But product development, for example, the new Tacoma just came out this year. We purchased the new Tacoma. We get one of the first one that rolls off and we stick it in our shop. Our engineers start 3D scanning it. We work with SEMA. They actually do scanning sessions before the vehicles are released.
No kidding.
So engineers go to a SEMA garage in California. They have the brand new vehicle before it's been released to the public, and all the engineers from all the companies are in there scanning away on these trucks.
Wow.
And we get preliminary measurements, and we'll come back and we'll start. They're like, oh, this is how big the roof is. This is our touch points we got to go. So when that truck shows up, we already have some stuff designed for it.
Wow.
Rough, just prototypes. And then we just start building, and we know like we need to build X, Y, and Z for this vehicle. How are we going to design it? We got to get in the vehicle and see the shapes and how it all fits and works. But we kind of know what our customers are looking for. But it's how do we get all of this stuff to fit on this particular vehicle? So that it's all of our stuff. If you look, like our products for a Tundra, we make products for a Ford Ranger, a 4Runner. They're all identical, but they're totally different as far as how they fit and how they go on the vehicle, but the concept is the same. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
we just get in there and start going crazy on these trucks and tearing them apart and developing parts for them. So
Right.
yeah, it works really good like that. But
Have you like played with unitization of design so you don't have to weld as much, let's say? Because I know some of these tricked out parts, I mean, they just get ridiculous.
yeah, you're saying like try to get stuff to fit common between other things, or
If it was 4 parts, now it's 1. It's all formed on the brake, that kind of thing.
yeah,
So you don't have to.
we try to simplify as much as
Yeah,
possible. If
yeah.
we can eliminate a process, I mean, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Again, that touches to like designing for how
Yeah,
your manufacturing is. You obviously want to try to make the product as easy to build as possible.
Right.
Without having to you don't want to over engineer something, but you don't want to under engineer something.
Right.
So just finding that line is very important. But we've just built enough of them now to where we just know like this bracket's going to be 3/16. It's going to have about 3 bends in it. We don't need to weld it because we didn't do it on the previous years. And bang, 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 and there it is.
Is it all made to order, or is it you made to stock?
Yeah, so we inventory everything. We don't make anything to order.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we have a separate facility, our DC, where there's hundreds of thousands of parts in that facility
Okay.
that the order will come in and they'll pull and ship the products. So I mean, we'll
Alright.
ship anywhere from 200 to 500 orders a day,
Right.
individual, from a little switch to a big bumper assembly,
Wow.
straight to your door.
So to complement this, I guess, what led you to start pursuing job shop type work was the capacity that you had thanks to all this
Yeah,
equipment?
and the other thing too is it's, having the capacity. So with the automation, you got to realize when you have a laser and you don't have automation, you're getting 8 hours a day for
Right.
what your people are there. Well, when you have the automation, it's like having 3 shifts of laser cutting.
Yeah.
I mean, a fiber laser in 24 hours can cut a lot of material.
Right.
So you're sitting there and you're like, well, so my only other cost is the material that I'm going to cut, gas and electricity. I might as well have this thing run 24 hours a day. So just leveraging your open space
Yeah.
and kind of being able to turn it up and turn it down as you want to. Additionally too, it helps with your buying power because
Right.
now you can go purchase more because you're going to use it for your job shop and stuff, and finding the right kind of job shop stuff that works with what you're doing has also been important. So that's really what we try to do. Like we try to not do stuff that we're not used to doing.
Yeah.
We try to stick to stuff that we know is going to fit right in for our operators and stuff like that, where they're like, they don't know. Ideally, they just think it's a part that's going on a truck that they're making, and they don't know it's some gizmo for something else. But it's very similar in that
And
sense.
those parts
So
kind of intermingle in the shop
yeah,
floor?
they do. They totally. You will have someone making some random thing, and it's nested in with a bumper for a Tacoma,
Yeah.
and we're able to, because I mean, at the end of the day, the sheet's already paid for by the bumper that's on there. So you basically have 0 costs for that job shop job because we cut enough of so many materials for that. We can just nest it all in and basically get the parts for free.
Yeah.
So we just do that a lot. We mix and match everything, which sounds crazy, but we do it.
When did you
So
make that decision to maybe complement the truck stuff?
we've really gone hard on the job shop stuff in the past like 4 to 6 months.
No kidding. Wow.
We would do it, but we didn't really like aggressively push for
Yeah.
it. And now because we've gotten so, I don't like to say so good, but we've gotten so good at building all of our truck parts to where like that's just on cruise control. Like we can build that stuff in our sleep. So now what we're doing is we're building a lot of that stuff at night.
Mhm.
And then the daytime where we have our more skilled and advanced guys, hey, we're building other people's stuff during the day. You're so good at building these parts. Like we don't need you to do this. We'll build those at night and we'll focus on job shop stuff during the day
Yeah.
and focus night shift on just production, and that's kind of what we're moving over to. So we've added a shift from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and they're just doing just all our bread and butter products at night that we know there's no issues with, that we don't have to worry about running.
So the with the high mix and nesting within nests, etc. So how do you make sure parts aren't lost, so to speak? So
well, we always cut a few extra, so because we got the sheet for it. But being able to, it's this equipment, like coming back to like just the nesting and stuff. There's a thing on Mitsubishi called Mel's AR. You could literally take a 8-inch rim of something, throw it on the laser table, pull your DXF and cut one on that. It's incredibly how fast. So if something ever is off or wrong, it doesn't mess you up really to go in there and add an extra piece or something like that. But I always like to cut a few extra on anything we do, unless it's some big giant thing where you're not going to lose something the size of that table right there. Yeah. But it's always easy because the material's already being used. It's not a big deal. So we that's kind of what we do. We don't overanalyze. Yeah. People, it's paralysis by analysis, and that's just one thing we don't do. Cut a few extra, mess a couple up, and you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Go ahead. I was going to ask about it. So how do you manage your? Of course, analysis paralysis, but manage your inventory. So it's like what's moving, what's not. What do we schedule?
We have a pretty robust inventory management system. Yeah. For the e-commerce stuff, so it's all kitted out in BOM. So like this, if we manufacture this bumper, it knows what component goes in that bumper, and it triggers and it pulls a low inventory report, and we put that into a like a scheduling, and it just feeds the laser. And then what we do is we kind of group up by material. So we're like, okay, we need to make these 20 products. Well, 7 of these use 3/16. Let's group them all together and make the craziest nests that they can out of that material, so we have no wastes. Or we'll mix a couple job shop jobs in, because we don't have a ton of 10 gauge we're doing, but there's some job shops for 10 gauge. So let's mix our stuff. So we just cross and do stuff. But our inventory for the e-commerce is super robust. There's on our website, there's thousands of different things we sell and ship out of our facility. So it's got to be extremely robust on that. So
what type of system do you have to manage all that?
So it's a smaller company. It's called Odoro. It's a great software. If anyone's looking into an inventory management, it is a phenomenal system. It's the only system that I have found that works really well with real heavy kitting. You can put kits inside of kits inside of kits inside of kits on that software. So it works really good, because bundling and kitting can be really complex in systems, and they've just kind of figured it out how to do it.
Interesting.
And it works really well with the shop and with all the integrations, because we have multiple websites that we sell through. Right. Well, when this website sells something and this website sells something, it's both got to read back to there. Then when something sells on Amazon, it's got to read back to there. When something sells out of our retail store, it's got to come back to there. So it just manages everything so well. I've never seen anything like it. Even looking at stuff here this week, right. There's nothing that even comes close to how simple and robust that system is. It's a great, it tracks everything from when it's at powder coat and it's not even meant to be a manufacturing software. Right. It's just built so good that you can set it up for manufacturing. Yeah. And it works so well.
So are you leaning into that for your job shop stuff
too? A little bit.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So we've kind of mixed a few softwares that aren't really intended for it, but they have good project management stuff, and we've just utilized them for job shop.
So it's like you have the kit upon kit for a lot of job shop work.
Exactly.
And then you say, all right, we got to pull this through. This is when it has to arrive in assembly.
Yep. No, it's cool.
Do you have in-house powder coating, or?
We don't. We outsource powder coat.
Okay.
Yeah. So currently we outsource our powder. We use 2 suppliers in the DFW Metroplex.
Okay. And the turnaround's quick enough, so it makes sense.
Yeah, anywhere from 2 days to 6-7 days.
So you can schedule around that.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah,
right.
and we give our powder coat in the system. It's a week, is what it is. Within 7 business days, it'll be back.
I
in
imagine you
stock.
send enough through that you get their attention.
Yeah, we do at least 1 full truckload a day to powder coat. Everything we make, 99% of what we build gets powder coated, and it's all BK 59 black, so it's so easy. It's just black.
What the color would be.
Yeah, everything is
BK
black.
59.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
so simple. So they love us. It's just heavy duty truck parts that are black.
Right.
So we're like their favorite customer. So
That's funny. So
No,
what's the average age of somebody working in your shop?
very young. I mean, if you took 2 guys out of our place, it's probably
They will not be named.
20. I mean, I'm not even talking Chris. I mean, it's oh my gosh, I'm like in one of the old guys now. It's crazy to think that. I mean, literally, I would say 23,
That's
young,
crazy.
super. All of our guys, we get straight out of the weld school.
Yeah. So
Like,
that's
it's
like
their
the skill
first
you look
job.
for, right?
You want to work our press brake, you're coming out of weld school. Like,
Yeah.
even though, because I'll be like, hey, you're not good enough to be a welder. Like, you
Right.
need to find another career path. But
Yeah.
you're smart and you want to work in a shop, you're gonna run a press brakes. I mean,
Yeah.
super young, no bad habits.
Right.
That's kind of what we've done. People walk in our shop, they're like, where's mom and dad? Like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
it probably
So-
helps for because your product line, like
Yeah.
because it's you go to weld school, you see a lot of trucks in the parking lot. That
It's
kind of
cool
thing.
stuff you're building.
It's
Right.
cool
So,
stuff. So it's
yeah.
kind of a there was that skilled labor roundtable, as there always is here at FabTech. It's a how to make metal fabrication sexy, that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's like, all right, and they're probably attracted to that, but then also the fact that, hey, this is a new no BS place to work.
Yep.
That's for real.
How to make manufacturing sexy? Don't have either of us talking about
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah. No, it's it's a very young crew, and I mean, like, Rob's a perfect example. Rob was started off as a welder for us that we picked up. I mean, I don't know how Rob is probably 21 when he started work, really young guy, and now he's running the Mitsubishi whole setup. He's like one of the best Capital Robotics calls him when they have questions on programming stuff. And I mean, like, just because he's a sponge, he's a young guy that's smart, that can learn this stuff, that has no bad habits, that, can be an extremely useful person in a shop setting. And we just have a bunch of guys like him who are super young, talented people who really like to, and they're hungry too.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very competitive, it's like borderline over competitive sometimes, where like people are like, hey, this guy's not going to cut it here. I'm like, hey, just give him, it's his first day. Like, relax, like, he didn't weld enough stuff, like, which is a great, like, mentality to have. Where, like I say, as long as you show up, do a good job, and you care, caring is very important, because there's a lot of people that just do not care about their job. And everybody in that facility truly cares what happens when they are there every day, which is really, and part of that is having respect for me.
Right.
And you'll see, if you come to our facility, I'm on the shop floor 7 out of the 8 hours a day. I live out there on the shop floor.
Right.
Because a lot of places, people just have no idea that there's these problems. But if you're in it all day, and you can get to those before they become big problems. So, just a young, we have a great crew.
Well, and that's great
in
you're on the
there.
shop floor. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a longtime consultant we had years and years ago. He's no longer with us, but Dick Callage, he used to tell me truth resides on the shop floor.
Oh, yeah.
Outside there, no, that's where the fiefdoms and BS come in. But if you go to the shop floor, everybody's accountable for everything else, and the product flows, and you can't, it's hard to have a political discussion around a bend deduction. It's either right or wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then a perfect example too, I'm out there walking around like, why is all this stuff in the scrap bin? What's going on? Oh, I'm having whoa.
Right.
Let's figure this out real quick, but that would have just been wasted stuff, in there.
Yeah.
Or why are you, oh, well, my tool broke I was using. So, well, let's get you a new tool, like if you're not out there noticing stuff, whoa, that doesn't look straight. What's going on here? I don't know. you've got to be out there with your team looking that stuff over, and you got to have someone that has a detailed eye that can see things or see a situation and be like, there's a better solution for that. And just kind of doing that every day.
You mentioned in the story though that, you know, you're the way you approach it is that not only, you know, as long as they have respect for you, but you kind of respect them.
Yeah.
You've had guys go on to lead other
We've had
jobs.
several. I mean, we were talking about it last night about a bunch of our ex guys that are just killing it doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's always cool when you have like ex employees that you still talk to that are like running shops or have gone up in their professional, you know, career. And it's great when they call and buy something from you because they're a buyer now over here. And like, dude, you were a welder from us and now you're like a buyer at this really good fab shop. Like, this is great, you know, like you're doing great. And so, no, it's always, like I say, you always got to be elevating, and I will never get mad at someone for getting an opportunity. And it's like I'm not going to try to hold you back, you know. So that's always a great thing for people to do.
What allows you to stay competitive while having those people go? Do you feel like your culture kind of is ready, like next man up?
Yeah, it is too, because we promote from within. That's exactly how Rob got to his position. The guy who is running all that went to go start his own machine shop.
Wow.
And Rob's like, I'm the guy. He had worked as a welder. He kind of knew what was going on, and he's the next guy in charge. And now the guys who were kind of working with Rob have we don't have, so one thing that we do, we have no like managers. There's no managers in our shop. Everyone just kind of knows what needs to be done, and there's a mutual respect for everyone, but there's also a mutual hierarchy that I have not just like put out there.
Right.
But it's kind of like, hey, this guy kind of seems to be the, you know, best one. Like, we're going to go to him when we have, and we've kind of created that. So there's kind of like the next fall in line sort of thing we got going on without, I say, the clipboard guy.
Right.
That just walks around with the clipboard all day. So no, it's just a very like, you know, if this guy's gone, like, you're next up, dude. You're in the batter's box. Like, you better be ready to go, you know? And that's kind of what we've done. And by cross training people, it's great because on our night shift, we don't have a laser operator, but we run our laser at night. So we trained our best welder. He's not a lead welder because we don't have that.
Right.
He knows how to run the laser now. So when at night, if there's a head crash or something, he gets the laser back going and keeps it running all night.
Right.
Without having to have a dude just sit there all night and run the laser. So or he knows how to run the robotic welders. He knows how to, if he needs to go bend something, he can step up on a press brake. So just by having an army of people that are super cross-trained, that can do anything, that are up for anything. Again, I'm not going to take that guy and stick him on a press brake and have him bend L brackets for 4 weeks.
Right.
But if something, you got to have those, we call them the utilities, the Swiss Army knives.
Yeah.
You got to have a bunch of Swiss Army knives in your company to be successful. So that's kind of what we've done with that young culture of like, I want to learn as much as I can because I know I have a shot to be the next guy, you know, and if I'm here long enough, eventually through attrition, I'm going to eventually be the guy sort of thing.
I love that your informal leadership kind of thing.
Where
it's like there's no, you know, because you know, there's nothing worse than having like fake fiefdoms and all this kind of stuff where, hey, you know, this promotion, that promotion, everybody's arguing. It's like, no, it's go to the guy that seems to know stuff. We're all on the same team.
Yep.
Let's get the product out the door. And that's what it's all
it
about.
It even comes down to what people are paid. We're straight up. If you learn how to do this, this is your ladder to growth.
So it's transparent.
It's not I've worked here for a year, I want to raise. It's no, I'm developing my skills. Oh, if I can add press brake to to what I can do, I can make this much. If I learn how to program the robotic welder and I can be proficient in that, I can do this. So it's like, how much, it's up to you.
Yeah.
You can get as much as you want to get out of it.
Is that kind of something you kind of pull together? Or did you have like HR person come in? And say,
we don't
like,
have an HR person.
No kidding.
It's us just building that competitive like sport. And like I said, like when I went to that all boys prep school, it's literally like I run it like how that was. It was everyone's a leader. You know, you gotta just kind of, everyone's got to be as elite as you can be
Yeah.
on every aspect. And that's just kind of, I demand a lot from people. I'll say it right then and there. But it works. And it definitely, you got to be the right person to work for us. Like if you're going to be lazy and you just want to punch your clock every day, you're probably not going to make it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be the first one to tell you either. It's going to be someone out in the shop that's going to tell you.
That's funny.
And that's just kind of how we do it. But it works really well.
There was a conference here at the show. They were talking about pay transparency and how they're handling it on the floor, where they open it up, and it's a great thing where they say, all right. And again, it's about skill. It's not about tenure. It's not about time. It's about, this is how much you know, and here's the pay if you get. So everybody knows, everybody else makes on the floor. And but now you guys are as far as the youth of your company, so it's a little easier. You know, they were having issues, a big problem, because people have been somewhere 20 years. Obviously, 20 years ago, the pay was a lot different.
Yeah.
So the entry level is a little different, but that makes total sense. And then do you spell it out via cross training, and do you have different levels on each system, like, or what?
Yeah. So it's most on like like if you can be proficient at this and you want to work towards it, we'll get you to here. And we just kind of, as people, because some people don't want to do that stuff. Some people like, I just want to weld. That's it. Okay. We won't bother you. But the beauty, I love when a employee comes to my office and says, I want to do more. And you're like, okay, what do you, I don't care. I just want to do more. I want to make more money, and I want to do more stuff, and I want to benefit the company more. Okay. Well, and we kind of take those people under our wing, and we're like, okay, this is the ladder. Here's what it is. You do this, we'll work with you every day, and we'll get you to here, and you'll also become a Swiss Army knife. And if some other shop finds out about you, they're probably going to you could probably go work somewhere else and make like a ton of money because you're like the perfect person. And that's where we've had people that have done that, but that's great. Like I said, like, I just want it, like, I don't like, because then the next guy's right there, who's been gunning for your spot, kind of. So that's just like it. I care more about the person at the end of the day. Like, like like I said, I love talking to ex-employees, and they have nothing but great things to say about, working there and stuff. So I care more about the person than, just, I look at you as a person and not just someone who's running a machine.
Right.
I want you to succeed in whatever you want to do in life. And I'm not going to be greedy and just use you for the skill you're doing at that moment in time. So
that's so great to hear, because like I've seen so many shops, they're worried about poaching and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you know what? And then there are other shops I've covered in the magazine, because this is what we promote. It's almost how the industry grows. It's like there was a great shop in St. Louis. I knew the operations manager well. He jumped ship and launched a shop of his own. That shop now employs 100 people. That's the last 10 years, 100 people got jobs, and then it keeps on going. And that's kind of how but you need that culture to make it work, because otherwise nobody's behind that guy.
Exactly.
He leaves, and now you got this void of people who don't care.
And then it's hard to just bring a random person from the outside in.
Right.
And then that creates a whole different, thing. Start them here and get them to there. And just, that's how you do it.
But not everybody works out, right? Like how does that work? As far as all right.
Some people don't, and it is what it is, and
they go.
Yeah. And they go on. It's pretty simple, straightforward. All right. Yeah. So,
and like I said, we've been able to pretty much know in about 3 to 4 days if you're going to work there. And we're pretty cut and dry with you. That's the thing too. A lot of people just aren't honest with people. Like,
right? No.
It's like, you know how much respect someone gets them when you're like, hey man, if you suck, you're not going to work here. And they're like, okay. And it's like, if you don't like it here, just come tell us. You're not going to hurt our feelings. We'd rather have you leave in 3 days than spend a bunch of time on you for the next 6 months. And then you're like, I don't like it. And then you leave.
Right.
It's just being brutally honest with people.
That's a good lesson.
Pays dividends.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's probably refreshing to some folks too, because then you draw even more folks.
Because so many people just get jerked around in jobs, and it's just like, it's frustrating for them. And then it's like, it's just, turnover is your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Because it ruins your company. It does. I mean, luckily we're blessed to not have I can't remember the last time we lost somebody. Wow. I mean, but it's been a long time, and it's great. A lot of people just want stability. Stability is so important. Yeah. And turnover causes instability.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it messes the whole thing up. So.
Yeah. I think that word instability is the one people can relate to.
Yeah.
Because I think very rarely they see stability.
Yeah.
But they know what instability
Yeah.
is.
Oh yes,
Exactly.
and you know, the moment you say, "Hey, just leave," come on, that means you're open, you're honest,
Yeah.
and you know
And you have
that
no hard feelings.
I know hard feelings. And you know, I've talked to welders in this industry who've gotten so upset because, all right, they're standing next to Joe, who's a buddy of the shop owner or something
Yeah.
like that, and there's kind of that pseudo nepotism going on where, oh, this guy, why is this guy even there? He
Yeah.
doesn't work, but he's still here, and so there's this political mess, and he leaves, and it's all this BS.
Yeah.
And that if you just clear that away and say, hey, just tell me how it is.
Yeah.
And then that's how it is.
It's so important. Yeah. And we don't, that's our thing. You just put the best person to do the job. It doesn't matter who they are, who they know, it doesn't matter. You just get the best person.
And you cross-train to give them a ladder to for improvement too. So,
exactly.
So what's your front office look like as far as is it just engineer, like 2 or 3 engineers?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you literally come through our front door, it's myself, our CFO. We have 2 engineers. Chris is there sometimes. You know, he sells, so he shouldn't be there because he's out selling stuff.
What you doing here, Chris?
And then we have a couple marketing people in our building. But most of our customer service, sales, customer facing end is at another location. So there's really like no people in our office. There's like 4 people in the office. Everyone else is out on the shop floor over there.
You said is engineering in the office?
Yeah, we have two engineers.
I'm sorry, 2 full-time engineers.
2 full-time engineers.
All right.
So you're about back, to the aftermarket truck stuff. You're looking to expand. You do some stuff, but you even do more of the non-Toyota type stuff. Yeah.
No,
How's
definitely.
that going?
Good. This year's really heavy Toyota because Toyota came out with a bunch of new vehicles this year.
Right. Okay.
So we've had like no new vehicle stuff going on. And the new 4Runner's coming out this year, which is going to be huge.
Yeah.
So we're kind of, the new Tacoma just came out, and then they're rolling the new 4Runner out. They came out with the new Land Cruiser this year too.
Right.
So they've just kind of hammered us with all these new vehicles. So we're probably this year and next year, we won't touch another platform.
Gotcha.
But the beauty about Toyota is they don't change things for like 10 years.
Right.
So once we have these product lines, like we're good for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
We have some stuff started. Like we have some Bronco stuff started.
Oh,
we
wow.
have some like Ranger stuff started. We have some Raptor stuff started. We have some Chevy stuff started where it's not going to be a big deal for us to just kind of get those projects across the finish line and get it out to market.
Yeah.
But Toyota just went crazy with us.
Is that gonna put a lot of stress on your manufacturing?
It does
setup?
because when you bring new products in, it's always tough. I mean, like I said, designing something's easy, but actually getting it to a production scale is always a little squirrely. And the first time bending it, and you're gonna mess a few up. Getting stuff programmed, teaching guys how, like, this is how we do this. So yeah, this year's been pretty hectic with the new vehicles and doing a lot of the job shop stuff, but it's really helped. I would say level up our guys because they're not just doing the stuff they're used to doing.
Yeah.
So we've definitely had to kind of step up our game a little bit.
Will be a significant bump in terms of sales, you think?
Oh yeah, with the new platforms for sure. This year we've done really good on the new Tacoma. I would say, from talking to I'm friends with a lot of our competitors and stuff, which is really funny because we all hate each other at the same time. But we're on the 24 Tacoma. We're like number 1 right now on a lot of the armor.
That's awesome.
So we got a big jump on that. Where a lot of our competitors still haven't even launched like the product.
I'm going to ask for a friend. Can a Tacoma tow a 20-foot pontoon boat?
It could. I don't know if I'd want. You probably get like
Brandon
3 miles to the gallon, like but yeah, no, it's
we might be in the market.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, you get a whopping 3 miles a gallon.
He lives in a town called Crystal Lake, so
There
just
you
to
go.
let you know, just a little.
There you go.
Not Friday the
That's where
13th
that
related.
friend is.
Hey, so you're involved in other things as well. You're almost more entrepreneur than fabricator. What do you see 5-10 years from now for maybe Cali Ray's LED or even Hamar Industries?
Yeah, I mean, just growing. We've gotten to the point where we've done the real fast growth.
Yeah.
So now let's do the more sustainable, like where we can actually sleep at night, and just now we're more of tweaking things in to be more streamlined, more efficient. Because we've just built so fast.
Right.
Because we've just created the capacity. So now let's fill it with good stuff. Let's get rid of the bad stuff we don't want to make anymore. Let's find these really good customers that we want to manufacture parts for, that are going to be good partners for us, and just grow it. And obviously, the beauty about us with the new vehicles that are coming out every year, it kind of forces you to have to always kind of be doing new things. So that's kind of our growth plan, is the new vehicles that come out, dialing in our current customers. Like I tell our guys, you got to hunt and you have to farm. You have to farm your current people. You got to hunt for new people.
Right.
So that's kind of, we farm in the mornings and we hunt in the afternoons. And that's kind of what I always say. So we need to do a lot of farming and a lot of hunting and really just make the whole thing come together really well. And again, I'm not a professional, so I learn stuff every day. And that's my big thing. Like, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come here. Like, I've never seen some of this stuff here. I have no clue what half this stuff is.
No kidding. This is your first Fab Tech.
Yeah, I've never been to Fab Tech before. And I mean, just seeing like things, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've always wondered how they did that. And there's the machine for it. And just like, because the more knowledge that I can get on stuff, the more I don't sound like an idiot when I'm talking to people. And it's been really cool just seeing all this stuff, and just the more stuff you can. That's what's so fun about manufacturing, is every day you're gonna learn something, and a lot of stuff, it's just, you got to figure it out. And there's no book. No one's written a book how to do sheet metal manufacturing. At every shop you go to, the person thinks they've figured it out, and everybody's different. And it's like the craziest thing ever to me.
That's
how different everyone is, and like how things work at different places and how they do. It's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen.
That's why we exist, man.
It's
Every
crazy.
month I cover a different shop. It's like a different world in every place.
It's insane how it is. It's mesmerizing seeing this and how people do different processes. And you're like, man, I thought I had it figured out, but this guy figured it out.
Tim's gonna write that book. It's gonna be.
I was gonna say, if anyone's gonna write it, Tim's gonna write it.
Yeah, I mean, literally, there's no instruction book on anything. Even the machines, they don't really. They're like, this is how it works, but other than that, good luck. It's crazy. There's no manual like on anything, so it's a lot of just trial and error.
It's a 200 page PDF.
Yeah,
it is 200
exactly.
page PDF.
Anything to add, Garrett?
Yeah, are there any business leaders that you pick the brain of or meant like look at as a mentor? Or does this all come naturally to you?
My dad definitely. So my family business is a pretty large operation. It was in floor covering. They were the third largest floor covering company in the nation. So huge. So like I've just like at dinner every night since I was a little kid, we talk about sales, marketing, profit margins, EBITDA, everything. So just having that from we like everything in my whole family is all into like their different businesses and stuff. So that's just kind of how we are. We're super just hungry, entrepreneur people. But having that company that he has, it kind of exposed me to a lot of like really smart people within his organization. So being able to talk to their sourcing people or talk to their CFO and, hey, can you show me how this works? Hey, you're the dude that like knows how to work with Walmart. Can you show me how this works? Like, and just having those people's contacts in your phone to just call when you have a question is just huge. So I wouldn't say there's really like a particular person, but it's more of just like having, a lot of good friends that have been in the game for a long time. I mean, even Chris, I got Chris, what is this? So, because Chris has been doing it for 20 something. He's been doing longer than I've been alive. So, it's a flex for him, but it's just being around smart people is always very important in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're ever the smartest person in the room, you better watch out because that's usually not a good situation to be in.
I feel like you mean that because I know people who've said that. I don't think they mean it.
Yeah. No, it's true. You always want to be around people that know a lot more than you do. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, one's ever said this guy's an idiot for asking a good question. I've asked a lot of. I mean,
I think it goes to bad questions.
For example,
how do you pronounce your name?
Yeah,
but I call it confident curiosity, right?
Yeah,
Confident
exactly.
curiosity, but it's also because, hey, you're an idiot. That's fine, but let's learn. That's how you do it.
That's Tim's new podcast.
Do you have aspirations outside of manufacturing? Or you just kind of locked in on this right now?
I really like what I do. I mean, I don't look at it as manufacturing. I look at it as just a business, and I get to wake up every morning and go solve a problem. Like, I know that sounds horrible, but that's my dad said, when you own your own business, you got to know something. Every day you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
I've never had a day, I've been doing it for 40 years. There's never been a day I haven't had a problem. And I think if you accept that and you have no emotion in your business, where you can at 5 o'clock when you go home, still go say hi to your wife and pretend nothing bad happened that day, even though it was the worst day of your life. Like, that's where you can have a lot of fun doing it. If you're able to flip that switch off and still live your life and have fun. And I mean, I truly do have a lot of fun every day. Like, I thoroughly enjoy what I do. Cause I just get to do cool stuff every day. So,
well, continued success, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. Where can they find out about you?
Yeah, definitely. Go for our manufacturing and check out just Apex Fabworks. If you look that up, we'll come up. And if all of our truck accessories, you can look up Cali raised LED, and you'll see all of our cool truck stuff we do. But
Awesome.
It's been great with you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Blake.
Yeah,
Tim,
definitely.
Thanks for your time. If you have any comments, criticisms, complaints, suggestions, please send them to podcast@fmamfg.org. We appreciate the engagement. We also appreciate MC Machinery, Mitsubishi, for sponsoring this episode. It was a nice hookup that they did us right. So thanks a lot to those guys. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited by Griffin Hammond and Dana Weicker. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Mike Owens, Billy Culpa, Pat Simon, Brandon Geyer, and me, Sarah Spring. Email us at podcast@fmamfg.org. Thank you for listening.
Well, I remember when I was 17, I bought my first CO2 laser, and